Good evening, everybody, and it's good to be back with our next edition of मन दर्पण. Yes, हर चौथा शनिवार जो हम लोग मिलते हैं, ये हमारा मेल मिलाप के लिए जरूरी है, दिमाग की स्थिरता के लिए जरूरी है. We bring you our season 2 of Man Darpan, and this is the episode of September that we are looking forward to. It is our 6th episode, and the title for this episode is Life, Our Best Teacher. There is so much that this month of September has, and we can't forget Teachers' Day. So we are going to think of how we are learning from life itself, who is our best teacher. तो ये पूरा महीना जो है काफी कुछ होते गया है, and we have some slides to show you that it has been a month buzzing with activity. So much to learn from our good Lord Ganesha, right? We have facts that his mighty head is something that gives mental health a preference, the ears to listen to very well, and the mouth which has to be lesser talking and more listening. The eyes also are smaller with more focus in mind. I think there's a lot to learn from our friend Ganesha. And with that, I had the good opportunity to visit even Rashmi Deshpande's house and Chaitrali's house, take blessings, Gauri Ganpati वगैरह, और इतना स्वादिष्ट खाना, वो ताट जो था 5 चीजों का, मीठा और नमकीन दोनों, beautiful. It's a pity that Ganpati festival comes only once in a year. Yes, we also had the Profulta Silver Jubilee that was happening, and I'm happy to be a very close part of Profulta right from its inception. So 25 years has flown by, और ये 25वां साल गिरा पे एक बहुत अच्छा मानसिक स्वास्थ्य का कार्यक्रम मटुंगा में ही organize किया गया था, and I had the good fortune of putting a session across, chairing across for changing trends in family psychiatry. और अब मानसिक स्वास्थ्य पूरा परिवार के लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है, ये मैसेज हम लोग ने इस कार्यक्रम के द्वारा दिया है. So it was a beautiful occasion to bring mental health straight into the family. And as we said, Teachers' Day, 5th of September, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, the man behind the day, Teachers' Day, and it is so good for us to find that time and inclination to show our gratitude to our teachers. बहुत अक्सर देखा जाता है कि टीचर्स हमारे बच्चों के लिए एक माई बाप का जैसा ही होता है. They are the second mother in the school that is there, and the relationship is so beautiful. As psychiatrists, we focus on school mental health, and we say the mental health of the teacher, of the parent, and of the child is so very important. We take this day an opportunity to acknowledge the role of the teacher. Well, 10 सितंबर का जो दिन है, that is also very special for mental health. It's World Suicide Prevention Day, and we had a lot of activities that were related to this event. We had something at Fortis Hospital, and we had something at Shri Hospital also. And both the events were super duper hits because we brought the message of positive mental health. That was what we had. At Fortis Hospital, we had it open for teachers, and we brought about school mental health with the role of depression that is now seen, mobiles, online school, offline school. ये सब बातें और ये सब चर्चा टीचर्स के साथ ये सेंसिटिविटी हाईलाइट कर रहा था कि मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के लिए हमको वो इम्पोर्टेंट दर्जा जो है वो देना ही है. Along with that was the program that we had at Shri Hospital. And there it was a lot of fun. We had music in all these programs because we had to have strike the right notes about being cheerful and positive in a world that is seeing depression and suicide. We had people show off their talents. We had people talk about their soul stories. We also did a wonderful session with the 12th standard students of Achievers College. ऐसे ही स्कूल्स, ऐसे ही कॉलेजेस अगर मानसिक स्वास्थ्य को दर्जा दिया जाता है तो कितना कुछ अच्छा होगा. That stigma, that shame will be easier to handle, and mental health awareness will see the light of day. Well, I was also fortunate to attend the World Congress of Asian Psychiatry, and I was a speaker on media as an ambassador of positive mental health. और हाँ, ये सच्चाई है इस बात में कि मीडिया के द्वारा, that means through your Twitter, through your social media, through your news and channels that you watch, and through the movies that we see, we can spread so much of positive mental health. Sunshine stories are important. And I had the good fortune of meeting people from around the world and across our Asian places, so that mental health was a common tangent for all of us. It was very exciting. And then closer home, our BPS, Bombay Psychiatric Society का साइकोथेरेपी के ऊपर जो सेशन था, I was part of that to chair that session, and it was a good learning on a good Sunday morning that day, bringing mental health closer home to all our psychiatrists and mental health professionals. तो इतना कुछ करना ये बहुत ज़रूरी है एक मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के डॉक्टर को, क्योंकि क्लिनिक में बैठे बैठे सब कुछ नहीं होता है. We have to take it to the masses, and we have to share the message of mental health awareness. And this month of September has been a great time with so many activities happening. Thank you everybody for your support, for involving yourself and giving us your time and attention through all our sessions. आज का टॉपिक जो जैसा मैंने बोला था, this September, come September, is a beautiful love story, a comical love story, but along with that, the tune of the song is something that is familiar for Bollywood fans also. Nazre Mili Dil Dadka is Madhuri Dixit and Sanjay Kapoor of Raja, who have the same tune assimilated for them, and it was redone again with Amir. Come September, we are putting mental health forward because we are also getting ready for World Mental Health Day, which is in October. This September, we are learning from life, and I have three wonderful people, my favorite people, to be on this session today, this evening, this Saturday evening, to give us learnings from their life. और उनकी जिंदगी, उनकी दास्तां से हम कुछ सीखेंगे आज के लिए. Let's see who these three wonderful people are. Well, to begin with, I have NEISHA ALPHONSO. NEISHA ALPHONSO, who's joining us all the way from Austin, Texas, the US of A, and she is a CEO and homemaker. Thank you so much for doing this with us today, NEISHA. Welcome to the show. Yes. And our second guest is Twinkle Daifule. Twinkle Daifule is a choreographer and a young filmmaker, immense talent. And we are happy to have you on our evening show today.
Hello.
Welcome. And third is our very own, the man behind the scenes, और आज पर्दे के सामने उसको लेके आने वाला हूँ, अनिरुद्ध सापटनेकर. Aniruddha Sapadnekar, the co-founder of OneMD and a musician at heart. We are happy to have these three with us to share their learnings from life. अब बात करेंगे बारी बारी उनसे और कुछ सीखेंगे ताकि हमारी जिंदगी जो है उसमें चार चांद लगा सकते हैं. Let's begin with NEISHA. Welcome, NEISHA, once again. And as we have introduced you, the CEO and the homemaker, tell us a little more about these roles that you play.
Okay, I have a company. It's an engineering company, environment engineering, and we also do consulting. We basically do jobs for the city of Austin and the private sector as well. Basically cleaning up the environment.
The environment is something which is, yes.
Making sure that, the natural habitat's not lost, and just keeping everything in check. Cleaning up people's messes, basically, is what we do.
And what about the homemaker role that you play?
Homemaker has been the most important role because that involves raising my children and being there for the family. So that's been a role that I've played for the last 29 years, and I really enjoy it. My children are, my oldest is 25 now. The second one's 20 and the youngest is 18. And it's been a role that I still play for the 25-year-old.
And I think all of that has kept that love gleaming on your face and keeping that sunshine smile there, right? Tell us something more. Tell us something more about the lessons that you have learned from life. And to begin with, I think you had something to tell us about your firstborn. Let's have you share that story.
Yes. Actually, my firstborn, that's a special story because it really taught me my first big life lesson after I was married. about 2 years after we were married, we decided, maybe it was time to have a child. There was that pressure from society that, that lived around us. We lived close to our in-laws. They kept asking, so when is that child coming in? And we decided at that point to go about trying to have our first child. Didn't happen. Medical doctors told us that it would be good for us to explore IVF, and we decided to go ahead and try that. At that point in time, I also became, I turned to God in the hope that he might hear my prayer and, give me that child I was longing for. Well, it's strange though, because went through that first cycle of IVF where they give you those injections, and the doctors told me, oh, I'm sorry, it's not going to work this month. Your eggs aren't large enough. Big disappointment. Came back after 3 months, went through the same thing, heard the same thing again, bigger disappointment. At that point in time, we decided, maybe let's go for this pilgrimage. There's this place in Kerala called Pota. And my husband and I decided to go there. We came back very refreshed, feeling, a little closer to God from the standpoint that, I heard people giving testimonies, people that weren't even Catholic, giving testimonies of all the miracles that they had experienced in their lives. We come back, get ready for our next IVF cycle, and that doesn't work either. And the doctors are convinced that that's not the right time, to actually fertilize eggs because they're too small. And then all of a sudden I get this news from my doctor about 4 weeks later that I'm pregnant. Totally different from what the doctors were said to me. They said it was impossible for it to happen that month, and it did. That was my first lesson in actually realizing that God is, the important person to turn to, and basically, it's in his time. We can't force things to happen. When he wants it to happen, it will. That was a lesson I learned early on, and my faith in God over the years has increased, and I think that brings me to a place in my life where I find peace even in the hardest of situations.
Beautiful. And I think a balanced spirituality, when practiced, is something that strengthens us. And in the darkest of hours, that faith can lead us as light in darkness. So your complete encounter with how things went through from despair to further difficulty, and then how things opened up for you, allowing to have that patience and perseverance in life, it is something we all can apply to our life.
Absolutely.
With that, I also know that, NEISHA, you've traveled so much, one place to another, one country to another, one continent to another. Have these travels also taught you something when it comes to your life?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing was I'd lived in Kuwait for 23 years. And then when my oldest was about 17 and it was time for him to get to university, we decided to move from Kuwait to the States. And that was a big move for us because, my husband had a business in Kuwait that was doing extremely well. And the decision to move was basically to give the children better opportunities that were lacking in Kuwait. My in-laws were really not happy about us wanting to make that move. They said, you're so comfortable here. We had, people to help us around the house. I could dedicate all the time in the world to the children because I had that help. And to give that up and to come to the US, where we knew that we'd be doing everything ourselves, would have not the same kind of quality time with the kids that we were used to. It was a big decision, but we took that leap of faith. and came to Austin, Texas in 2016 actually. And I think looking back, it was the best thing we ever did. It was amazing how the kids just fitted into the school system. It was like they'd never, that they had always lived here. We didn't feel like we had even, made a new change. People were lovely. Our church was so welcoming. Everything just fell into place, and we knew we had done the right thing. Of course, so grateful to God for making it, happen so smoothly. And looking back, although we went through that time of wondering whether we were doing the right thing, we know now it was the best move.
Yes, 5 years down the line, you've seen that it has fit so well. And I think some way or the other, we have to have the courage to lose sight of the shore and take a risk and move forward. ये विश्वास रखना और अपनी काबिलियत पे, अपने हुनर पे और अपने हार्ड वर्क पे, इस पे विश्वास रखते हुए हम अपने सपने साकार जरूर कर सकते हैं. You also, life took a little bit of a twist and a turn when it came to family members and their health while you were there. What did happen in your life next?
So when we moved to the States, I had my parents still in India, and now we were further away. From Kuwait to Bangalore was a 3.5-hour flight, but now it was an 18-hour flight to get to them. So things had gotten harder. My mom had started to develop dementia, and then COVID hit and made it even harder because we just couldn't go back and visit. It would be phone calls every day to my mom. And I saw her deteriorate from, little conversations. Although the conversations didn't make sense, there was a point in time where she couldn't talk at all. Our conversations would be based on the songs that she used to love to sing. I would sing one line and she would chime in with the next. And, that kind of made my day, because at least I was still able to have somewhat of a conversation with her. And then in early 2020, she started to deteriorate even more. And in 2021, she succumbed to pneumonia. And that was very, very hard because we still couldn't go down and see her. I wasn't able to go for her funeral. But, and that left me with such a feeling of guilt. I felt that I wasn't there for her when she needed me the most. And of course, with that guilt came the feeling of, I need to do something about this. And fortunately for me, I have an extremely supportive husband. He encouraged me to go down and bring my 97-year-old dad back to the States. And, I'm sorry. That helped me overcome some of the feelings of guilt, but we had something new to deal with. Here was my dad, who, at 97 was so used to a certain way of life in India, and I had to come in here and adjust to a totally different setup. It was a big adjustment for all of us. My children and my husband, a lot of sacrifices had to be made along the way. But, God's been very kind. He sent us help to take care of my dad. And we've got excellent help right now. And things seem to have kind of fallen into place just the way they should be. We, see the blessing in having my dad here. It's amazing how many people just come up, meet him at church, and then want to cook a meal for him.
Wow.
So, yes, there are times that, I'm in the States and I have dosa batter given to me every now and then by somebody who thinks that my dad reminds her of her dad. So that's how amazing it's been, So I see the blessing in having brought dad here. And I feel so much better now about, my mom and not being there for her, because I feel now I'm able to do for my dad what I wasn't able to do for her.
I think some very concrete points have come through here. one that you, with such pride, you mentioned about having a supportive husband. And I
Yes.
think when family is supportive through our difficult times, it makes a big difference.
Yes.
So, sorry, when we have each other reaching out for the pain and the difficulty that we go through and lend support, that difficult journey becomes easier, especially when
Absolutely.
it comes to our parents. So you've had the benefit of a supportive husband. And for all husbands and wives watching here, I think that's a lesson to take home. You also mentioned about your dad's Alzheimer's, his dementia. And this month of September, 21st of September, is World Alzheimer's Day. And we use that day to spread awareness so that we are more sensitive towards our elders and we take memory deficits into account. ये भूलना विसरना जो उम्र के साथ बढ़ता है और कभी उससे भी आगे अल्जाइमर्स या डिमेंशिया बीमारी के रूपरेखा लेता है, तब दवाई गोली ट्रीटमेंट ये सब करना भी जरूरी पड़ता है. We have realized that when we keep our trust and faith in God and we do what best we can with a sense of acceptance and understanding of the situation, I think it leads up to better outcomes. So much that we've learned from you and from your life. And that is why I think we have Brian, Rense, Janet, Seidel, all of them saying that your story and your sharing has been very sensitive and very empowering for each one of them. Thank you for sharing this, Nisha. And these are beautiful photographs of you. And
Thank
we see you as a very pet friendly person. You love animals. Yes. And what is the animal in the water there? Is that a sort of stingray or something or what?
that is a stingray. Yes, we had the opportunity to actually swim and feed the stingrays, and that was such a lovely experience.
Wow. And
Yes.
your dogs, of course, that are there and the family together
Yes.
and your parents there, I guess, in that picture.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, beautiful.
Thank you.
This is all that Nisha is and so much more. And the wonderful person that she is always reaching out to others, trying to help people in some way or the other, very steadfast in her dedication and outreach for the church. And I think all of this helps you in your own times of difficulty. What
Absolutely.
do you do to bust your stress?
You know what? I go to daily mass, and I think that's where my strength comes from. I find when I start the day that way, it just goes by smoothly. So that's been a habit that I've had for the last 4 years. And I think that's where my strength comes from.
Your spiritual nourishment. भगवान
Yes.
की दुनिया में देर है अंधेर नहीं. राइट, दुआ और दवा, इन सब चीजों पे हम लोग हमेशा इसकी अहमियत को हम लोग सामने लाते हैं. एंड आई थिंक निशा की कहानी से, निशा के शेयरिंग के थ्रू, वी हैव लर्न सो मच. Thank you, Nisha. And it's, I think, a Saturday morning there that you're
Yes.
joining us up and early on the weekend for us. Thank you for being a part of this session today. Stay
Thank,
with us as we come through and go ahead. Yes.
thank you for
Thank
having
you once again. Thank you, Nisha. Yes. देखो, लोगों की कहानियों से कितना कुछ हम लोग सीख सकते हैं और मन दर्पण इसी के लिए कोशिश करता है. हर चौथा शनिवार हम अपने मेहमान को सामने लाते हैं और उनके द्वारा हम बहुत कुछ सीखते हैं. क्या आपकी कोई कहानी है जो आप दूसरों के साथ शेयर करना चाहते हैं, ये वक्त हमारे साथ बिताना चाहते हैं, तो जरूर हम संपर्क कीजिए and be a guest on our show to enlighten others and bring mental health to the forefront. Let us have our second guest for the evening. It is with great joy and pride that I welcome our young and dynamic choreographer and filmmaker, Twinkle Daifule.
Hello.
Twinkle, yes, you are young, dynamic, talented, and you've achieved so much, and you have so much more to achieve. Well, tell us something about how did you get up close and personal with dancing, something that you're very passionate about. How did
So,
this happen?
my mother enrolled me into a dance class. I was 5 years old. I feel 8 years old, and from that day till today, I am just dancing. I don't know how. Even if I leave dancing for a while because of exams or anything in the past, somewhere down the line, I fall back into dancing, and I've been dancing from 10 years now, 10, 12 years now, and professionally training from like 3, 4 years. 5 years actually. This is the 5th year.
So you've gained
So
expertise in any particular form of dance as well?
so I have trained in jazz, ballet, contemporary, and also street styles as house and hip hop.
That sounds huge. Well, there's so much of talent that you are using for yourself and for others as you teach. Well, today it's nice to see you happy and smiling, but you have also shared with me before that there was a time when you were pretty unwell. Physically, you were tired and something was not working out. Can you share something about that phase of your life? Yes, we are looking at the time when you were unwell.
Yes. So I was always a dancer, and there came a time where I wasn't feeling at my best. Dancing is something I had to ace, being in the physical department. But then I started feeling unwell for a while, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I continuously said this to my family that, I'm not feeling well, not feeling well. But after a point of time, they were like, "Oh, it's just." I mean, you'll get well. It's just something you're facing mentally. I was like, there is something wrong. And then finally, after going to two doctors, the second one was
Yes, we're having a little
I
bit
also
of
had to go to
internet
Delhi.
connectivity
And
issues,
more
but no
than being
problem. Go
sad
ahead.
for getting diagnosed,
Yes,
yeah. Am I audible now?
you are. You'll have to be a little louder. Yes. So you were diagnosed with?
Yes. So TB. Yeah,
Yes.
so I was diagnosed with TB when I had a trip to Delhi, and I had to go there for dance training, for an intensive training course for like 2 months. But then I was diagnosed, and my tickets were cancelled. I kind of fell into this, I felt very low of not, more than being sad about the diagnosis, I was more sad about not going to Delhi. So I always wanted to dance, and it was like I was planning for this trip from a year, and I was so sad. But then my mother, I don't know how she did it, but she was like, "Ki, just go to Delhi, and I know you will take care of yourself, and I'm there in Bombay if you need anything." And she just sent me to Delhi, and I'm still grateful for her. Like, it was a life changing experience to go in Delhi, take care of myself, because this was the first time I was away from my family, and I am like a princess at my house. I get whatever I want. So being there, washing my own clothes, making my own food, taking my own medicines, which were so, like, the doses of medicines was so high because I had to take them for a year to get better. And yeah, I was into the intensive training as well, so it was very difficult.
And in
But
spite of all that, you took your dancing ahead and there was a sense of satisfaction that you experienced.
exactly. So I there was a competition in Delhi at the end of the course intensive, and I won it. So that kind of made me
Against
feel
all
like
odds.
I did, yeah, I did the right thing coming here. So yeah, this was right. The decision was absolutely right, and my mother supported me for that.
Beautiful. So when you get the support of your loved ones again, you can go through difficulties. Seeking support is always something that we should attempt without trying to suffer in silence. Yes. Well, how did filmmaking happen to you? Was it also something you loved at first sight, or something went wrong and then right? Share with us.
Not exactly. I didn't love filmmaking. I absolutely love films from my childhood, but I wasn't interested into making the films. I was always interested in being in front of the camera. But and I enrolled, and my mother enrolled me into a filmmaking course. That wasn't something I wanted to do, and I got diagnosed with TB at that time, and I dropped out from the course. I moved to like Delhi for a month, and when I came back, I was absolutely fine. And out of nowhere, COVID came out of nowhere, and it hit us like anything. And during COVID, it was such a life changing. I mean, I felt I got time to breathe for the first time. So I was actually thinking, I was actually looking, observing stuff happening around me. And I don't know what happened. I started watching a lot of films, like every day, I used to watch one film a day. That was like my routine. And I don't know how I enrolled. Like, there was this gut feeling I had. I wanted to go back to the film school. So I joined back the film school. And somewhere down the line, it all fell into place. And I was appreciated to make all the school, like all the films I made in my school. I was appreciated with by my family, by my friends, by the teachers. Like, I was one of the students who was doing so well at the school. And on the contrary, when my mother enrolled me before I was diagnosed with TB, I wasn't doing that well. And I was like, it was just my mind. I'm so good at this, but I wasn't still giving my best to it earlier when my mother enrolled me. But then something changed, and I don't know. It felt like so I have been dancing from 10 years, 10 plus years, and I have been a filmmaker, a film student actually. Now I'm a filmmaker, a freelancer, but a film student from past 2 years, and. I don't know. I felt both the love for filmmaking and dance is equal for me right now, and I don't know how.
So you're also telling us that COVID has been a game changer और बहुत लोगों के लिए ये कोविड काल जो था, ये कोविड का महामारी जो था, हमको बहुत कुछ सिखाया. It also gave us the luxury of time, to give time to ourselves, to give time to our families. We were blessed with quantity and quality time that we could give our families. We doctors as well experienced that because life took a pause for some time. We also got to look at our fears face front and try to get our strength from within ourselves. This helped you to discover the filmmaker in you, and you, as you now rightly say, you began to continue to love your dancing and your filmmaking in equal measure. In fact, there's quite a lot that you've done on the scene as regards to filmmaking and dancing. Tell us something about what you've done, even the dance video and the movie.
Yeah. So I was after my 10th standard, I enrolled myself in like almost one of the top 10 dancing institutes in Asia, and it's called Big Dance Center. And after training for 2 years, I was picked out of nowhere to teach there. And I was the youngest faculty there. I was 17 at the time, and I got the
That's great.
opportunity of teaching alongside international faculties. So some of them were from China, some of them were from the States, and it was very big for me because all of the other teachers were 23 up, and I was this small child, and I'm a very tiny person. And there were like 40, 50 people. It was a house full class in my class, and I was shouting and teaching them, but it was very special for me. And and then I started teaching. I also fell into love for teaching. Like, when I teach, I feel it's like a meditation for me, and I started teaching dance. And so I also performed in a lot of music videos. One of them, which is very very famous, is Badshah's Jugnu.
Jugnu, very
It
trendy
was
track.
very trendy tag. Yeah, it was everywhere at the time, and we shot that in Ladakh and Chandigarh. So yeah, I was a part of it. Then I also danced behind Lauren Gottlieb, the ABCD star.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I also performed with her. It's been like few months only. And then for the filmmaking thing, I have interned in a lot of firms right now. And right now, I feel in December and January I'll get to do a film on my own, because
Great.
there
You
is,
also did
yeah.
with the sisters, those dancing sisters, Mohan sisters. There was
Yeah,
something that
so
you
I
done.
also, yeah, I absolutely forgot about it. But yeah, so I got the opportunity of being a contestant on a dance reality show that's called Dance With Me. It's of Shakti Mohan and Mukti
Right.
Mohan, they both are sisters. And I got the performer of the day that day. And
Great.
it was the first time I came in front of the TV, and it was because I was Twinkle, not like a background dancer or as a character, just me. So it
Right.
was very special to me. Yeah.
डेफिनेटली. तो अपने हुनर को पहचानो और उसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए जो शिद्दत के साथ आपको काम करना है वो जरूर कीजिए. Self belief and self help is something that can take us further on the road to success. And finally, Twinkle, there's something more that you had shared with me about a startup. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah. So my startup was something I never expected. I always wanted to be a dancer until and unless COVID hit us, and I found out I also wanted to be a filmmaker, and that kind of opened my vision that I can do so much more, and I shouldn't just be Twinkle who's a dancer, Twinkle who's a filmmaker. So I watched my two of my closest friends, my best friends, they started their own startup, and I kind of was like, yeah, I want to try this. And simultaneously, I got an opportunity to shoot for a cafe in Kalyan, where I stay, a local cafe here. And I shot it with one of my school seniors. And somewhere down the line, we also figured more people need services like this in Kalyan, in this local area. So we started giving out our services, and people started approaching us out of nowhere. And somewhere down the line, it fell into place, and we started our own company. I started it with my school
With
senior. Uh, yeah, and it was
your
something
young
I wanted to
age
do.
to have something like this and your dream come true, it's a very satisfying feeling, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it is still very satisfying when I get a new client.
True. And therefore, Rahul, Shashikant, Akhil, Anita, all are saying, great story, inspiring for us, and we are going to make our dreams come true as well. We have a beautiful slide that shows us the many sides of you, and that's, I guess, with your family and with the people that work with you on the stage show, etc. It is you twinkling with success, right? We wish you all the very best, Twinkle. And in spite of
Thank you.
illness, physical, in spite of stress, in spite of all those different things, I think your music and your filmmaking is therapeutic for you. Thank you for joining us on
Exactly.
today. Stay with us till the end of the show as we move ahead. तो देखो कितना कुछ सीखने को मिलता है ट्विंकल की कहानी से भी. और अब आगे बढ़ेंगे हम to our very own, the man behind the scenes, but today will join us on the front is Anirudh Sapatnekar. Let's have this young and dynamic co-founder of OneMD and a musician as well at heart. Well, his life and his story, क्या कहना, कितना कुछ है सीखने के लिए. शुरुआत करते हैं आपका म्यूजिकल टैलेंट्स के साथ. Tell us something, Anirudh.
So, firstly, thank you, Dr. Fabian. It was so wonderful to hear Nisha's and Twinkle's story. They've really told us so many things that, on a day-to-day basis, we sort of think about. People going through different things in their lives and taking lessons from them. But then they have actually shown how they have used those times and actually made it their strength. Uh, about the music part that you just mentioned, of course, we've met through OneMD, but I would just like to give a little bit of a brief idea about the music part. So I'm not a professional musician like, say, Twinkle is a professional choreographer, but I'm a musician. I love to make music. That's how I would like to put
Great.
it. Ever since my schooling time, I was always participating in plays and dance and music, and I was very fond of the stage. Always wanted to be on the stage, not on the
Great.
backstage, which is the role that I have taken.
Hey, now.
But I would love to be on the stage all the time. And when I went to college, I sort of heard this. There was this band that was playing on the stage, and they were singing. They were playing an English rock track, and I went to a Marathi medium school, so I had no idea what they were singing. And I just loved the music, though. I really loved it, and I
Music
thought that
is
I
a
should try it.
universal language.
Yes. So I really thought that I should try it. I literally, there was a singer who was singing and he couldn't really get, the notes that he wanted to sing. And I just thought that I'll give it a shot. So I just went onto the practice room, and I just tried singing. I literally mumbled the words note for note. I had no idea what I was singing. and it was just, I mean, it was a song called Paranoid, and I just literally started mumbling that song. It was a rock song, and then I just found that okay, I can do this. It's fun, and I enjoy this. And so then onwards, I just started with my own band. We started making, and the trajectory went all the way to making a metal band. So I ended up making
Wow,
a
that's quite a
heavy
journey.
metal band wherein I was writing songs, and I was performing them. I will show you a picture of mine, and you'll not recognize me in that picture. But I had like really long hair, and
Long.
I used to go on stage and perform, and it was just something that I completely enjoyed. I never thought that I was trying to do something or trying to be something. I just literally enjoyed it. It was like how dancing is or how plays are. It was just literally coming all the way from inside, and I just felt the sheer joy when there are like thousands of people in front of you and they're singing with you. It's just the most beautiful thing that you get to see.
True.
uh,
True.
yeah, and the thing that I genuinely learned, which was like the nitty gritties, right? Like we see a lot of like artists perform, whether it's dancers, singers, actors. We don't really see how much effort there goes in for every little second of a song or every little second of a dance move, right? Like it just takes a whole lot of time to do that, to practice it, and then it's a lot of joy, but at the same time there is a lot of effort involved in that. And in the process of creating these songs, I fell in love with that process, which is to actually create something from scratch which doesn't exist. You're just hearing sounds from the universe and you're just channeling them and creating something that doesn't exist. It's just the most satisfying experience. So yeah, in terms of music, then I happened to form another band, and then today I have a band called Bombay Record Company. We
Okay.
play across Mumbai, and we're all people from different backgrounds. There's a doctor, there's an engineer, but we basically love playing music, and so
So we
yeah,
can start
that
just
is
about anyway when the germ of the idea and the vibe gets into us. बस
absolutely.
सोचो समझो और फिर आगे बढ़ो. And this is how your story has unfolded and your success has been inspiring. Well, there is also something to do with your dad being ill. You were abroad in the US, and then things took a change, a twist. Tell us more about that, Anirudh.
Yeah, so after doing my engineering in India, which was the traditional path that everybody sort of follows, they say in India, you become an engineer, then you decide what you want to be. And so I became an engineer, and I went to the US to do my master's. I was working in the US in Chicago with a company called Deloitte, and I was doing fairly well over there. And in that time I used to visit, typically like all people do, in December, and then you spend like 15 days with your parents. You feel good, okay, wow, this is great, good timing. It's winter time in Mumbai, so you have a good time, and then you go back. I mean, you're in your own world, like Nisha was mentioning some time back, that you're actually not physically there, but because we had, like, back then we didn't have WhatsApp, we had Skype and stuff like that. So we used to be in touch. So you would feel like, okay, you can come back once a year and this is fine. And then on one of the occasions that I had actually come down, my father actually had a stroke. And it was immediately post the 31st December. So we had just partied for the 31st. We were having a great time as a family. And then immediately post that, he had a stroke. And the way I found out about it is I went to his room, and he was lying there, and he had just had that paralytic attack. So basically, I had to take him to the hospital and then sort of see through his treatment. Long story short, it was just a very life changing moment for me, because I saw an entirely different side of him. He's a doctor, and he had been head of many institutions. So I had actually seen him in that powerful position where, dad's always right, and these, doing things like you're always looking up to the person, right? And like one day I'll be like him, and then in that moment it had just flipped. I was
He
making
was
the
totally
decisions
helpless at that point of time.
completely helpless. He was not able to communicate with me, and that was the one of the toughest things that actually happened. Was I had to make those decisions for on behalf of him, and those were very critical decisions. They were. I'm just gonna take a detour onto that. It's basically the doctors in the hospital. They were asking me for his files. They were like, "Where are his files? What medications is he on?" And he had diabetes as well as a heart condition. So I was supposed to know as a son, I was actually supposed to know what medications he's on. I had no idea. And he had kept it properly somewhere in his files. And however, I had no idea. So during that time, I sort of realized that regardless of who we are, at the end of the day, when we have to go through such a situation, we need to know this information. This information is very important information, and for some reason in India we don't keep this information with us all the time, and
True.
that was something that triggered this whole thought for having a tech background and then trying to merge it with healthcare, wherein I'm able to store people's prescriptions so that you can just pull it up on your phone and you can just show it, and at
So
any point of time you'll
that
be able to
that
know.
was the genesis of
That was the
OneMD.
genesis for why exactly for why OneMD was born to begin with,
Okay.
and yeah, it was very impactful for me. Through this journey, I learned a lot of people have had a lot of grave problems because of not having simple information like is somebody allergic to something, and these things we just took for granted. When I was in the US, for example, there were EHR systems out there. People just pulled up your records and it was just available anywhere in the in the states, and it's just not there. Even till date, like if I ask you, "Oh, where are your medical records," it becomes difficult to answer that question in India. And so this was the question that I decided that I will dedicate my life to solve this problem, wherein every Indian should be able to have their medical records with them no matter where they are in this world, not just in
And
India.
we thank God for a blessing of OneMD that has come through you. Yes, Anirudh. Well, there was also a sharing that you had about a friend and a mental health problem that he went through. I'd like you to tell us that story as well.
Yeah, so going back a little bit, after my 12th, I was very much in India. After my 12th, we got into engineering. We were all in India, they call it merit students. We were all good grades. Everybody had gotten in good colleges. Everybody was, doing fairly well in their engineering. And somehow, in the way Mumbai University is structured, is you don't really end up scoring really well, no matter how good a student you are before your engineering starts.
True.
And this is a shock for some. Okay, there were people like me who we failed. I literally failed, I believe, 70% of the exams in the very first semester of mine in engineering. However, not everybody could take that shock. I
True.
had friends, we were like, it's okay, we'll just go back, and we'll just give it again, it's fine. And but there were some that were visibly disturbed,
Totally
so
broken as well.
totally broken. And so I had a really close friend from 12th who I used to meet, post our classes of 12th. And so I had met him right after engineering class, and we discussed this, and he was going through a lot of problems at home. His father had passed 2 years before that, so he was not financially doing that well. His mother had to take up jobs that she did not have to before, as she was a homemaker previously. And that had profoundly impacted my friend, that she had to go through this. And within this, now he had failed, so he had to pay more money to do more classes. And this was really bothering him. So me and a couple of other friends, we met him. We went to a coffee day. We sat with him. We told him it's okay. This happens. Don't worry about this. And classes, we'll give you the notes. You don't have to really worry about this. this keeps happening. We have also failed, so look at this, it's no big deal, etc. And around 10:30 we left, everybody went home, and next morning I heard that he had committed suicide, and he passed. And we none of us could just take that shock, because we were with him literally an hour before the described time of his death. And it was just painful. We had no response to that. We did not know how to process this at all. And till date, when I'm speaking about it, I sort of choke up thinking about what his mother must have gone through after this, when she was already dealing with her husband's death, and then her son had passed, and it was just crushing. We didn't know which side we were on. In popular culture, we always keep talking about, there is like, don't be a coward thing, and there is that other extreme wherein you don't know what people are going through. These are the things that the teenagers are seeing, but they
Yes,
are
yes,
not
this
really
is.
thinking through exactly what the very next person, like your real friends in your circle, are
Yes.
going through.
I think,
uh,
Anirudh, this is very relevant because 10th of September, we celebrated World Suicide Prevention Awareness Day. And one in every 100 deaths is due to suicide. And every 40 seconds, we have another suicide. इतना कुछ होता है। और जैसे अनिरुद्ध की कहानी से अब जो उसके दोस्त के बारे में उन्होंने जिक्र किया कि हार और जीत को किस नज़र से हम लोग देखते हैं, उसका उस हिसाब से हमको तकलीफ हो सकता है। इस तनाव को किसी के साथ शेयर करना, जब मदद की जरूरत है तब आगे बढ़ना, बिना कोई शर्म का, बिना कोई स्टिग्मा, we take help at that time, it can make a difference. This sharing of yours has been truly an eye opener. And Archana, Usha teacher, Misbah, Rebecca, they have said that I think we need more people to share stories like this so that we bring about the awareness that is so important. थैंक यू फॉर शेयरिंग, थैंक यू फॉर ब्रिंगिंग दिस थ्रू अनिरुद्ध। और देखा जाए तो कितना कुछ हमने आज हमारे तीनों अतिथि से सीखा है। This is Anirudh that is here, and that is that photograph, prized possession with the long hair, the musician in the complete act. It is so nice to see you there, and that's your dad.
yeah.
And these pictures tell a story of its own for sure, right? So therefore, इन तीनों से बात करते हुए आपने क्या सीखा, आपने क्या समझा? Life's lessons learned. Few things that we put on together from the lives and stories of NEISHA, of Twinkle, and of Anirudh. पेशेंस एंड परसिवियरेंस इज इम्पॉर्टेंट। वक्त के साथ थोड़ा रुकना भी है, देखना भी है, एक भरोसा भी रखना है, और वक्त के साथ भी चलना है। फैमिली एंड फ्रेंड्स ये अपनी ताकत बन सकती है। सपोर्ट जरूरी है। वी मस्ट हेल्प आवरसेल्व्स through this difficult times, but when people in the family circle and our chosen friends, no matter how few they are, they stand by us and lend their support, life can be different. We saw how difficult it can be for people, और जो हमारे लिए कोई ज़्यादा मायने रखता नहीं है, किसी और के लिए ये बहुत ही तकलीफ या पूरा सदमा के साथ भरा हो सकता है। So self-belief and self-help is important. Brokenness and balance is relative. It differs from person to person. Each one has a story. Can we be sensitive to those around us, because we don't know what their story is? All in all, life is beautiful. इतना कुछ है सीखने के लिए हमारी जिंदगी से। इतना कुछ हमारे तीन अतिथि से हमने सीखा है। जिंदगी हमको हर पल सिखाती है, लेकिन क्या हम सुनते हैं? Life is teaching us moment by moment. Are we listening? Are we learning? And are we learning well enough? Well, this is the beauty that we've got from our three guests today. And as we come to a close, let me also share the forthcoming programs that we have and bring it to your notice that we have our Mentastic, Making Our Mind Fantastic, which is a mental health session every month for kids of school, just to put their best foot forward using their mind as well. This Sunday at 6 o'clock, we have It's My Life and I Care. So don't miss out, children who've registered for this. Please join in at 6 o'clock for our Zoom meeting. We also have our online daycare counseling. और ये 4 सेशंस के श्रृंखला के थ्रू हम जिंदगी के छोटी छोटी बातें जो हमारे लिए बहुत फर्क रख सकता है हमारे मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के लिए, we have this via our online counseling sessions. We also have Ouch, and this is every second Sunday of the month at 12 o'clock. Overthinkers Unlimited Chill Out Help Zone. This is a Zoom session, 40 minutes, just to share and care and make overthinking easier for all of us. We also have Mindscape coming, and I told you October is a special month. It is the International Week of Mental Health that goes on before we have the World Mental Health Day on 10th of October. So we are also celebrating. Mindscape is our baby. We do it every year, 2nd of October to 9th of October, both offline and online programs. Are you going to be with us as you celebrate Navratri and the very different colors of the mind and mental health as well? So join us, WhatsApp us on 908-209-3848 and be a part of Mindscape 2022. And finally, आज ही शाम को, आज 9 बजे शाम को, don't miss Bato Bato Mein Season 2 Episode 18 on our Insta handle. That's Wellsprings Counselling. We have Dr. Chryson Digama, orthopedic and sports physiotherapist, talking on movement, mind, and more. It's an interesting conversation that we'll have. So please join us today at 9 o'clock on our Insta handle. And don't forget, we have MANN DARPAN Season 2 every 4th Saturday to give you just those good vibes about power and positivity that we all need. Like our wonderful guest today. Well, NEISHA, thank you for joining us all the way from the US.
Thank
You,
you for
Twinkle,
having me.
sharing. Yes, sharing your stories, and Anirudh. You know, with the soul sharing that you have done, people are taking home wonderful lessons. And it's not only going to touch their lives, they are going to touch so many other lives. And together we make a wonderful difference. That is what MANN DARPAN is all about. And that is what we have wonderful guests like you do for everyone around. God bless us all, and let us have our mental health shining. Thank you until we meet again. Thank you once again, NEISHA, Twinkle, and Anirudh. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much, Dr. Fabian.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.